I mean, I hate this new setup that YouTube has been doing, where basically it just starts automatically as soon as you hit start streaming on OBS. But
Really? When did he do this?
fairly recently. I mean, this happened a couple short while ago, where it's like it used to be just they would have a red button that says start stream at the top right corner, but now they just start it automatically as soon as you hit start stream on OBS. So it's like, okay, now
Maybe they're trying to make it more convenient for mobile.
yeah, maybe it is, but anyways, that said, I just started a stream. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are entering in, this is Scarfy. I'm here with my colleague Dave and AJ Shim.
Reading.
And this is Exalted Scarf Stream 17, the Red Menace.
Yes, we are now the Red Menace.
Or we're up against the Red Menace at this point.
Well, to be fair, the main ranger for the new Sentai season isn't very red. He does have red in him, but he's not the most red ranger ever. But, joking about that. Okay, so
But yeah.
we have, so tonight is what we like to call the Fuck China stream, unfortunately.
It's going to turn into that. It will.
I'm just being honest up front about this. Now, while I view Chinese culture as a very important thing and feel like, if you are part of that, no offense against you. This is mostly talking about government censorship and all that stuff.
Thanks, CCP.
Yes. I'm always going to be anti-censorship, and that's who I am as a person. I believe work should be available to people and should not be hidden. Especially for, say, the reason of having a reference to Winnie the Pooh.
God, cheating thing just is such an insecure man.
Yeah, but first, how about that Cyberpunk 2077 there, guys?
Oh, Cyberpunk 2077, the gift that keeps on giving, I guess, at this point. I don't know, man. This is just one of those cases of what is the life we live now? What is Cyberpunk? I don't know. Okay, this has been like the stupidest video game controversy ever. Some people are calling it worse than Fallout 76, and I don't think that's possible.
Yeah, I heard. I don't think these people realize just how bad 76 was.
Well, dude, 76 actually doxed people. Cyberpunk
76 not only doxed people, but they also skimped out on their pre-order bonuses, like the freaking bag.
Well, it's not. Well, the bag was one
and the rum.
And the rum.
That fucking rum is everything I hate in a modern corporation.
But I mean, the controversy is somewhat overblown because I mean, at least Cyberpunk 2077 didn't make those kinds of promises. I mean, it's more comparable to No Man's Sky in that it's like they just made a lot of promises that they just couldn't keep. And right now, what I'm seeing is that they've got haters on both sides of the spectrum. This is not a Last of Us 2 situation where it's like where gamers hate it, but it's like the journalists love it. Now, in fact, the journalists hate it too because, well, it didn't quite embrace the politics the journalists want them to embrace.
Mm-hmm. So it ended up pleasing neither side of the spectrum. But I don't understand how this is somehow worse than Fallout 76. 76 was a unique kind of failure.
Honestly,
76 it's a kind of fuck up only Todd Howard can somehow get away with.
Honestly, he's not even getting away with it that much because 76 still hasn't really recovered, say, as much as, like, say, No Man's Sky did, which is what everybody's kind of hoping. Mm-hmm. We are now living in an era where we actually do have two major comeback games.
Yeah.
Shim, I think you're playing us over the thing.
Sorry.
Oh,
There we go.
It's fine.
That should be better.
Okay. But anyway, what I am saying here is that
Alright.
76, 76 is kind of special because of just how much fucked up it was as a thing.
Yeah.
Not because, and it's a special level of hell, honestly, and it hasn't had the same recovery rate at this point as, because right now there are two major games that have recovered in this era, which are Final Fantasy 14, Final Fantasy 14,
Yes.
which has been an amazing recovery, honestly, and the other one, which is No Man's Sky. Those are the two ones that have had some sort of recovery.
Yeah. Actually, I have No Man's Sky. And I didn't get pissed off at it the way everyone else did because I didn't quite listen to too much of the hype. All I was looking for was a pulp sci-fi style game, and that was mostly what I got. Everyone else was just looking for Elite Dangerous or a Star Citizen style game. They were looking for a multiplayer space shooter.
Which is not what the game is about.
Exactly. It was about
granted,
exploration. In fact, I was hoping they go more towards a Metroid Prime style gameplay, because that was also a sci-fi game that was more about exploration. But it's like they're still doing updates. They might go down that route.
You know what I think the problem was for like a lot of these people's like up like ridiculously up the ante expectations is the fact that the kind of games that were coming out at the time, and there was like these big, like blockbuster equivalent like super games, and people said like, oh man, a sci-fi game where you explore, oh man, that's gonna have all the stuff that these AAA games have and more. That's the kind of like mentality I feel like some gamers have now like fallen into. It's like, oh, if it's one amazing game, all the others must also have that as well.
Yeah, it's gotta be like Call of Duty, man. Only in case of Cyberpunk 2077, I think that game turned into too much Call of Duty in some spaces.
Really?
Because I've seen I've seen the openings on some streams, and they had so many scripted shooter sequences. I'm like, is this really Cyberpunk, or is this really an RPG, or is this just Call of Duty?
Yeah. Well, honestly, the weird part about it is I'm now playing an RPG that has become, well, okay. So I'm playing Yakuza Like a Dragon, and Yakuza was already like dipping into JRPG elements, and this game is now just a full RPG with this new entry. Very much so. So it's kind of interesting to see like something that was very mixed of genres now just fully embrace another genre instead of the original beat 'em up formula.
Oh my
It's
god,
fascinating.
I remember when that series had a zombie mode.
What?
We don't talk about Dead Souls. That actually nearly killed the series.
I'm like, I don't remember that. Like,
so back in the day, Yakuza was having a hard. Okay, so one of the big problems with Yakuza and how it was sold initially, it was initially sold as Grand Theft Auto Japan.
right.
And if you play the series at all, even for 5 minutes, it's not that. If anything, the best way to describe Yakuza is that it's a samurai story in the modern day, rather than, because Kazuma Kiryu is basically a modern day samurai trying to be a modern day samurai, and the world against him. But it's also about playing mini games that. Okay, one of the things I have a problem with the Grand Theft Auto series is that a lot of the side stuff is not often fun. Like say the radio control mode in fucking San Andreas. But that's always been a problem I had with the game series. Yakuza always made sure to make dedicated mini games that were always fun, interesting. And one of the things I love is that you can go to actual Sega arcades and play some of their greatest hits. Like right now in Yakuza Like a Dragon, you can actually play Virtual Fighter 5.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Yakuza is made by Sega, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Puyo Puyo and stuff like that. So you can
Mhm.
actually play games within games, and they work well. Honestly, I think like because I have Yakuza Like a Dragon, I have no reason to get I have no reason to get a copy of Virtual Fighter 5.
Or the virtual Sega collection.
Well, yeah, here's the thing too. It's also set up for 2 players too. So if you actually do
Really?
want to do versus mode, it allows you to do versus mode. So like I can literally just open up Yakuza Like a Dragon, set up another controller, and then we can play Virtual Fighter 5.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
isn't that better than whatever like GTA does? I'm joking, of course. Like you love GTA. I think GTA is a fine series. I've just never been interested in the side content it offers.
Don't let the GTA 5 players hear you say that.
I've just never been interested. I've tried. I literally have tried. I like Red Dead Redemption though. Red Dead Redemption was actually everything I wanted GTA to be.
Alright.
Yeah, I know. Like, I know Red Dead Redemption is just GTA with horses, but it's also the only GTA style game I've ever finished.
Really?
So, yeah, I I never looked at those games as games I want to play. I've always looked at those games
Okay.
as I mess around in them.
hmm
And honestly, I always found some mechanics to just kind of be annoying. So, like, if you like GTA, that's fine. I'm just saying it was never really my game in comparison to other ones.
You know, in all fairness, you could probably mod GTA 5 to look more like Cyberpunk.
Probably.
I mean, there's already, like, a Watchdog style hacking mod in GTA that you can implement.
I was gonna say Watchdog. That was another game opening that was extremely botched
Yeah.
because of like the downgrading graphics and like all the features that were missing when it came out when they were promised.
Yeah.
That was
So,
the other thing that kind of upset me about the whole Cyberpunk 2077, whereas, like, the hacking system was taken mostly off of Watchdogs.
hmm
Whereas,
to
like,
be fair,
you just
one
point at something and then all of a sudden you make the electronic thing move.
honestly, I can understand doing that for convenience sake. I would have preferred like a more active form of it.
Or
Rather
better
than-
yet, the actual, like, VR hacking sequences that was in the original tabletop.
hmm
Because that's what happened in the actual Cyberpunk 2020 tabletop. Is like, in order to hack into something, you had to physically jack in, and all of a sudden you're in the Matrix, where you're going through a Tron-like universe.
Yeah, no, I feel like honestly,
But it was
I
probably
feel-
it was probably one of the things that they cut. I mean, this, you gotta remember, this is a game that went through a troubled development and probably went through several cancellations and reiterations.
Several revivals and whatever.
In fact, I'm
I
starting to
imagine-
wonder if they're gonna actually feature a cyber psycho mechanic, which was what I was looking forward to ever since the teaser trailer. But all I've seen is just references to people going cyber psycho in the city. That's about it.
Honestly, I feel like at the moment the big problem with Cyberpunk 2077, at least from what I've looked at. Now, here's the thing: I have not played the game. I'm gonna make this clear first of all. I have not played the game, and I'm just basing this off of what I've seen and what I've heard people talk about. My opinion so far, it looks like it's a proof of concept rather than a full completed product.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, you gotta remember, this is CD Projekt Red, who were well known for the Witcher series, which was a third-person melee-focused medieval fantasy RPG, and they were trying to make a first-person shooter driving sci-fi RPG.
Yeah, they were really going out of their usual comfort zone for this one, which I applaud them for. So I'm not surprised that they're gonna have some hiccups with this new style that they're going for. That's like expecting like Bethesda to not make like an open world RPG that's not, buggy.
Yeah, it's just try
But
to imagine.
regardless, you know, I'm more forgiving towards this game because like I've seen worse launches, much worse, and
Honestly,
and some people are just
I
over exaggerating it.
honestly I have
Anyone
to
who was around for the Daikatana launch
Oh
has
god, the
seen
Daikatana
worse.
look. That was
honestly
worse.
I don't think there is. I think honestly, besides the PS4 version getting taken away, and honestly, it was not an optimized port anyway. Like,
Right, so it's like we're taking away a bad toy. Why are you complaining that we're taking away something bad and trying to give you something good? It's not
well, the
even like
big
they put
problem,
in microtransactions.
and honestly, one of the big problems is I didn't expect the PS4 version to be the definitive version because
Right.
look, look at the generation we're in. It's not like we're in this whole fucking era of amazing games,
Mhm.
where well, here's the thing, if you guys remember um if you guys remember
Alright.
here's the thing. Right now we're on the last year of the PS4 being relevant as a console,
Alright.
Mhm.
and basically a lot of people didn't think that in those terms because the PS5, not a lot of people have the PS5 now. It's out though.
Mhm.
And the truth is right now we're experiencing the same thing that happened to PS2. There are games for it that are new, but they're not the best version.
Right. They're like a slightly downgraded version.
Well, yeah, to get them to work. And
Right.
right now,
Well, it's a
I'm
transition period between like the old gen and the new gen.
yeah, and that's just the truth of it. It's sad that that's what's happening, but it is what it is. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
sure
not
it'll
too.
run just fine on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox One X or something.
Yeah,
Or Scorpio or whatever it's called. I don't know anymore.
Or, God help us, the Google Stadia.
Oh, didn't Google immediately quit on that last time I checked?
I'm still seeing ads for it for some god awful reason.
It's probably because of the amount of money they already put in. So, it's like the YouTube algorithm. It's like you already put all this in. It's gonna last until the set payment date is where it ends.
Alright, so that's probably why they're still advertising it like freaking crazy. And
yeah,
and
and
yeah,
honestly,
it's just that we're
and
currently in a transitionary period between like different console generations. So you guys see
uh,
things that were optimized for like next gen consoles that they're trying to
well,
work on current gens.
here's the problem too. Right now, it's not like you can't get this game on the PS4 either. I should mention. You want to know
Still
why?
available.
You can still get the physical copy.
Yeah, physical copies still exist
I know,
for
right?
now.
Honestly, considering how much unsold merch I saw of it, yes, it does exist.
But
So I understand what you're saying. I get it. Right now, but this is one of those cases where I imagine we'll see physical copies for a bit. You
yeah,
know,
and eventually, I do believe that Cyberpunk 2077 will eventually be a good game. I'm not too wild
yeah.
about its color scheme, but eventually it's gotta be a good game.
Well, one of the things about it is people forget about this company is that Witcher 3 needs a lot of patching and fixing. And if Cyberpunk 2077 gets the same treatment from the company, honestly, this could be something good because one of the things that the company did uh was they gave free updates. They gave
Mhm.
and they had DLC expansions. Honestly, if they give DLC expansions, that would be cool. Like
Give
No.
me a Netrunner DLC. Or give me a Netrunner expansion.
Yeah, something like that.
And then put
Yeah,
in
I
a
mean,
cyber psycho mechanic that's very similar to like what we've seen in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, where it's like if you have too much cyberware, you might actually go berserk and start killing your allies.
Yep.
that's an interesting mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and just have your allies just be like various mercenaries that are actually like permanently within the game, but very limited. It's like if you kill them, they're gone forever.
Hmm. Like Fallout New Vegas hardcore mode.
Yeah, kind of like that. It's like so that becomes a real danger. It's part of the dark, gritty atmosphere of the tabletop.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's true. And that's kind of one of the things that is an advantage about those games, honestly. I think that's one of the reasons why these stay relevant. But yeah, no, like I get what people's problems are to an extent, but like I said, to an extent. Um it's right now we're dealing with a game that's buggy, but also it doesn't help that a lot of journalists have been putting the worst interpretation spin on it.
Yeah,
And
they've been bringing a lot of attention to the game.
well, my big problem with the spin is not the fact that there is spin, because look, that's going to happen with reporting anyway.
Hmm.
I accept it. It's the fact that it's taking away the actual controversies that the game should be worried about. Because right now everybody's like focusing on the delay and stuff, and like the issues about trans representation, when the game has an entire thing where you get a car with a trans flag on it. I
Hmm.
don't think the game has the worst representation in the world.
Oh, for crying out loud, this is not the universe where you just want that kind of representation. Unless you want that representation to be represented as drug fueled addicts who are utterly delusional because they have so much cyberware they don't know whether they're human or a toaster, mainly because they identify as one.
The thing about like Cyberpunk is that the question of human identity has always been a huge issue in this type of genre. You can't just be like, oh man, it's about like me being who I am, and it's like no, like in all seriousness, Cyberpunk, there's usually no definitive answer on what you are unless you really accept it. Like one of the reasons Ghost in the Shell is unique in the genre is that it says that the most important thing is the mind and not the shell, which is why the series is called
Ghost in
Ghost
the
in
Shell.
the Shell.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, if you wanted to identify as your persona, you can get your furry robot suit.
Yeah.
Or like
Hello.
yeah,
I am.
put your brain into a robot animal.
Okay, cool. Then I'm gonna introduce my new persona, Big Gig Fergalo. He's a hack. He's a hacker in the future who identifies himself as a liger, and
Eh,
he does crimes and stuff. That's all I've sought for this character, since I'm really not interested in actually making him a thing. Thank you all for listening to this conversation.
if we ever run the Cyberpunk tabletop, you have to make that character.
If we have run the Cyberpunk tabletop, it's like, hey, my name is Big Gig. Now I'm gonna fucking kill you for what you did to my family, you rat bastard. Oh, I forgot the cookies in the oven. Basically, the entire thing is that he acts like a children's like television host most of the time, but he ends up acting like he ends up having like moments where he's like this Shadowrunner character. Oh god, I actually am now getting into this character. Fuck.
You better stop while you're ahead.
Yeah. In fact, the other controversy is that apparently it's just like they catered to China for some reason by taking away
Oh
some
yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah.
joke.
There's a lot of controversy surrounding the Chinese version of the game.
Um, look, what isn't controversial about China?
Well, yeah, a lot of stuff are, but it's not just pandering. There's also stuff about like the anti-China like stuff that's going on that pisses off some of the Chinese audience as well.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I mean
sure.
dude, that happened to Hololive with Coco or Kuru Coco. Where it's like
Mhm.
she didn't even say anything bad about China. She just mentioned that she has fans in Taiwan.
That's the thing. She said Taiwan. She acknowledged Taiwan as an independent country and not part of the one China policy.
Yeah,
Well, there goes the stream. Bye, guys. If you were in China, it was nice knowing you.
I don't think we're big enough or Asian enough yet.
Yeah,
So,
actually, if we were streaming on D Live, we probably would have been kicked off.
honestly, like, look, man, we're small fish at the moment. I feel like,
Yeah, China does not care about us.
thank God, I'm happy about that.
Which
Honestly,
is all the more reason why I regret not getting Devotion while I had the chance, because then I could stream it and I don't have to worry about getting taken down.
well, I might have been able to find a copy, and I might be able to give it to you sometime in the near future through
Hey.
various means.
Mum's the word there, Dave. Mum's the word. But yes. Which brings us to the crazy shit happening with GOG and Steam over a Taiwanese developed game called Devotion.
I thought it was just GOG and not Steam.
Oh, it was pulled from Steam. It used to be on Steam.
Yeah.
Well, I know it was pulled from Steam, but the one who made the statement was GOG recently.
Yeah,
Like-
recently it was GOG.
Yeah, so, but yeah, no, that had happened a while ago. Steam version.
I mean, GOG's
but
statement was earlier today. It was announced that the game Devotion is coming to GOG. After receiving many messages from gamers, we've decided not to list the game in our store.
Well, guys, I have the new nickname for the Chinese Communist Party gamers.
What's
They're
that?
the true gamers of this society. They're the gamers people worry about.
I mean, for crying out loud. It,
Uh,
they were taken down for just... I mean, I think one of the reasons they're taking this down is because of this one joke that they had, which isn't even, like, part of the main game. You have to look for it. It was an Easter egg where they have, like, Xi Jinping, a picture of him in the game somewhere. And you have to actually look for it.
it doesn't matter. Xi Jinping is like such an insecure like leader that anything that could reflect badly upon him, he he just like immediately puts it on ice, on very thin ice, or just immediately gets rid of it. We're talking about the same person who had just like recent times said that he is leader for China for life. No one else afterwards will be there to replace him. Like even if he dies, he is still the ruler of China.
Oh my
Like,
god,
that's the kind of person we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Like there are plenty of other people, Chinese people even back me up on this. Like I spoke to several people when I was back in college, Chinese like students, and I would ask them like, "Hey, since you're not in China anymore, what do you guys honestly think about your leader?" And they're like, "He's like a little child, basically." Like I
Yeah.
forgot what the Chinese name for like a nickname is for him, but it basically means like crybaby Xi Jinping.
Yeah. Well, honestly,
It's their version of a Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and why are people still like supporting this guy and the CCP and everything?
Money. It all boils down to money.
Always.
Right now, like China right now, I'm going to talk about economics for a bit. China right now holds like the majority of the world's debt. Like not just US, but like a lot of countries around the world have a huge debt to China. And it continues to grow. Right now, Africa is growing in Chinese debt. South and Central America growing in Chinese debt. Like, but like the thing is that China also owes just as much money to the rest of the world. But the difference being is that like they have one advantage the other countries do not, and that being they're willing to work for super cheap, and because they have authoritative government, you know, they're not exactly in a position to, criticize or say otherwise.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, true.
It's like they've all become like the perfect style of supervillain.
Oh, they're like the Borg.
Yeah.
Like you will be assimilated to their plan.
Complete with them releasing a death virus on us all, but that's another
Yeah.
topic.
Oh, right now China's trying to spin it, saying that the virus actually originated in India,
Of course it is.
and they said it's because India is a very unclean country.
I'm sure this has nothing to do with their border dispute with India.
Oh, it has everything to do with their border dispute with India.
I think that was the joke,
Yeah.
to be fair.
mean-
But no, at this point we are in the mode of
Yeah,
right.
it's just crazy. It's like they are exerting way too much force over the global stage, and they've pretty much taken over most of our industries. I mean, we all thought GOG was going to be untouchable for a while, where there were going to be a much more free platform for games. Apparently not.
In all seriousness, GOG is right now in the mode of, and this is just a sucky thing about GOG right now. They're not big. They're not as big as Steam to say no, and
Money
that
talks.
money talks, and also like it's very hard to keep out of the market, especially because I think this might not have happened if COVID didn't happen this year. Money's tight all around.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
I'm not now on honestly. I think GOG is. I'm on a level of fuck GOG right now because like I said, I can understand what they're thinking, but I'm not going to say it's good. Especially because look, I really think that they don't have like honestly, if they just sold Devotion, it honestly, if they didn't sell Devotion in China, I think more people would be forgiving. But the fact that they're not even selling the game to people who aren't part of that like thing, I think just fucking sucks in
Keep in
general.
mind, they updated the game to take the joke out, and they still got pulled from Steam and GOG.
I'm telling you.
I don't feel like it's deserved that this game should get punished for like one small joke, one comparison. Because look, guess what? I like people love to make fun of Trump in America, and that's been a thing for the last couple of years. Whatever you think of the man, you can make fun of a politician over here for at the very least most of the time without worrying about the fucking consequences. But
Yeah.
one joke about the leader looking like Winnie the Pooh, and suddenly, oh no, I have to do everything to get rid of Pooh. It's stupid. It's fucked up.
Yeah,
And like that's just my opinion though. You know, some people maybe they think again. I'm just saying here that this at this point is not good for anybody. But you know, what do I know? I'm only a bystander in the darkness looking over this horror. But
And,
you know,
and I also heard of like other games that were made in Taiwan that were banned, and
mhm.
yeah.
I don't even think they made any kind of like jabs at Xi Jinping.
No, it's the fact that they were from Taiwan is enough to basically, make mainland China go, no, you can't have this. Either this stays or we go. It's
Yeah,
it's that what's the word I'm looking for? Petty.
Yeah.
And yeah, and this wasn't just like these games. I mean, they've been doing it all around. I mean, we've seen it, several examples. I think just this year alone, between like Hololive, there was also the that one Blizzard gaming event
Hmm.
with where someone was saying free Hong Kong, and then he got
Yeah, the Hong Kong protester for Hearthstone. Yeah,
yeah,
Hmm.
and
yeah, he got
also
banned.
like I think it was like the NBA sports team as well.
Oh, NBA's shilling for China very, very hard.
Yeah, they ended up becoming a huge part of their scene over there, actually. So it's been a huge thing over there.
Like
So
they even have their own Chinese equivalent of the NBA, where people who don't make it to the NBA go to the Chinese equivalent.
wow.
I'm not joking. Like my little brother, who's like a big like basketball fan, he he's my source for this, and he tells me a lot about like the politics of the NBA, and that's what he told me.
The politics of the NBA.
Yep.
I'm not shocked because all sports have politics to an extent. I was actually talking about some baseball stuff recently with a couple people because I'm not the biggest baseball fan, but I know the politics of baseball just because I have family in it. So,
Hmm.
you know, and other
And
stuff.
It's pretty sad that like our entertainment just can't be just be entertainment anymore. Like you gotta find like ridiculous bull crap that's going on right now.
yeah, it's happening with Marvel movies for quite a while now. I mean, they cut out what that one character from Doctor Strange because he was Tibetan.
The ancient one, yep.
Yeah,
Because he's a Tibetan Buddhist monk, and Xi Jinping really hates the Tibetans. He really doesn't want to acknowledge that they're their own independent nation.
Yeah, basically.
yeah, and even Iron Man cut out the Mandarin effectively.
Yeah,
Uh,
that
don't.
was that was because of China. Hell, like
Yeah.
there's even a scene where in the Chinese version of um Iron Man 3, right?
Yeah,
In the Chinese version. Remember the scene in the ending where Iron Man calls up like all his Iron Man suits and they come to the rescue and he swaps like in between all that stuff.
Yeah.
In the Chinese version, he doesn't do that. It's he dials a number, but instead goes to a Chinese like manufacturing company, and two Chinese actors, like very famous Chinese actors, are appearing. They're like, "Hey, Stark's calling for help. We got to send him our prototype Iron Man suits," and that's how they do it in Chinese version.
what?
Of course.
Or another example is that when he gets, his like, what's it, the arc reactor in his chest, like replaced. Like in the American version, he does it by himself. In the Chinese version, he goes to China, and the Chinese doctors like help him with it, and he thanks him. Was like, man, if it wasn't for China, I'd be dead right now.
Well, I don't think that's what they were necessarily
I'm
going
just
for, but they are
imagining like this tech like breaking apart and malfunctioning like all cheap Chinese knockoffs.
basically.
It's like it's all of a sudden he gets like bootlegged Iron Man suits
I am Iron Man.
that are somehow
Honestly,
speaking in Spanish.
the sad part about the bootleg Iron Man jokes there, you do know you should see the bootleg of Iron Man action figures I've seen in my time as a fan.
Really?
Well, there's a lot of stuff. Um, honestly, I'll see if I can show you some Gat ones later, but
Mhm.
Iron Man is a popular figure at the very least. Heck, fact is, sadly enough, but honestly, the problem with the China stuff is more to the fact that I hate that. Look, if China wasn't censoring stuff, I'd be okay with leaving them alone, honestly. But I hate when works get censored because, I was like, dude, I believe in having a voice for artists.
Mhm.
Sometimes that
Yeah,
voice is good.
if they just censored within their own borders, I wouldn't have an issue with it either. But
Mhm.
they are forcing us to censor in our countries as well.
Yeah. Let's remember we use when Hollywood would make movies, there would be two versions. There'd be the localized there'd be the local domestic version, and then there'd be the international version, and the international version would often be made for specifically for China. Now they're like, screw that, we're just gonna make every version we have the Chinese version now, because the Chinese market is the largest in the world. United States used to be number one, but then when streaming came along, people stopped going to theaters. Guess who didn't stop going to theaters? The Chinese.
Yeah, true.
It's
And
so I'm not blaming USA audiences, but like we can't exactly say like we're not at fault.
yeah,
Yeah, this is the price of convenience, guys.
There was a documentary that was made criticizing Walmart. It's called exactly that, The Price of Convenience. And it explains everything that we're experiencing now, like 20 years before it even happened.
Damn.
And it's not just the US. Other countries are suffering from the Chinese censorship as well. Like not even just Western countries, like Eastern countries as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they're probably doing. I mean, we've already seen that with Japan.
Right. Japan's like a prime example for that. Like even China now is like trying to like censor the Japanese media, like animation and whatnot. Then not only that, they're trying to like buy up Japanese studios so that they can control them.
well, don't
Yeah.
we all wish we could control Japanese studios?
Especially the Californians.
Oh, fuck
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Japan's kind of been in like this tight spot when it comes to their media, because in order to sell well, they either have to pander to the CCP or to like the very
Dude, the
moral
West Coast.
busybodies in California who are localizing their stuff for the
It's
U.S.
not necessarily true on that case. I'll actually talk about this for a bit.
All right, go on.
Uh, so, in all seriousness, anime and manga is actually doing, and the Japanese media is actually doing really well in comparison to how it used to be. While there is some selling to the CCP on occasion, it's on occasion rather than just full out. We're having to pour out. Honestly, the biggest problem right now for America in anime is Funimation buying Crunchyroll, because now they basically own a monopoly on it. But that's another story for another day. I actually do want to talk about that in more detail on its own. But right now, the big thing about it is that right now, what's happening with Japanese games is that the problem with the California stuff is that it's the PlayStation platform.
Oh yeah.
Now, the big problem with the PlayStation platform is right now it's just driving away Japanese creators from it. And you want to know what's been happening? More companies are going to PC.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, dude, like you can get the entire Yakuza series on PC soon. Not just that, you got Persona 4 on it. And I've even heard rumors of possible Persona 5. Again, what I'm saying here is right now we're living in an era where this could be not a thing soon. Honestly, like, the issue is that while California is controlling PlayStation, what's on it, they're literally just driving away developers from it. And that's really the problem. Because, look, right now they were more strict with Japanese games, so Japanese games responded. We're going to other platforms. Nintendo allowed basically a porn game on their titles because they're less restrictive. When you make Nintendo look less restrictive, something is wrong.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically what's the thing called? The supply and demand. If you're not going to supply what the market's demanding, the market's going to look elsewhere and they're going to go to the one that actually is going to give it to them.
Yeah, if anything, this is just showing that like people working at Sony are out of touch. But honestly, looking at Sony as a whole, there's a lot of problems with it that we don't really think about. Now, I sometimes have issues with Razor Fist specifically as a creator for various reasons. One times, I think he sometimes is up his own ass on a couple things. But I do agree with his analyzation of Sony on some level, where because they have different people working on it and competing with each other, it leads to their consoles feeling less cohesive overall. So right now, that's one of the big problems. Because look at the UI in the PlayStation consoles; they are so different from like what we should be getting. You know, but that's just like one example, in my opinion. You know, but I would like to hear your opinions on this as well, guys.
I mean, I think PlayStation Sony has been like getting desperate in the whole PlayStation department because they are kind of losing the console wars battle at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair.
So they're grasping at straws. That's probably why they transferred so many things to the American division, or that's why they're doing the whole woke culture stuff and everything. It's really just an act of desperation because it's like they've been losing for quite a while now. I'm pretty sure that's like our current gens of like Xbox has and Nintendo have really mopped the floor with Sony,
Yeah.
and they were trying so hard to undercut Xbox when they were doing their PlayStation 5 reveal.
True.
And Xbox was able to undercut them with with their new X by releasing like a second version of their console that's just basically digital only.
Yeah.
So PlayStation is just kind of screwed. In fact, there was even like one E3 where they just didn't show up because they didn't have any games.
Yeah, I think it's mostly going off what you said. I think it's just we're seeing the effects of the change in the market where like I'm pretty sure you guys know, but in case anyone watching doesn't know, like mobile gaming is like dominating overseas in the Eastern Hemisphere. Like consoles are like almost obsolete in those countries like Japan, China, Korea, and all those like Eastern countries. So Sony like catering to the Western countries like the United States makes sense, but it also, like you guys said, it's trying to appeal to a demographic that's you know, not really the one who spends money on their products. So,
Well,
Yeah, it's they have a larger install base on mobile than consoles, but consoles still have a larger install base than PC.
yeah.
And they are actually they're actually closer to PCs. That's why mini games are optimized for both PC and consoles. Which is also why the PC gaming master race is so in an uproar about consoles because it's like they always try to dumb it down for consoles. Well, that's because there was a larger install base there. I mean, just look at the interviews that were done with the developers of the game Crisis.
oh yeah,
I mean, they were embarrassed that hardly anyone played their game because it was a PC exclusive. So they had to
Yeah.
dumb down their sequels for the console ports.
Yeah. But
And
again, I'm also saying that PC is becoming more dominant now.
yeah,
It's so shockingly.
of course,
So
dumbing it down for a mobile is also too huge of a leap for them. But if they can get away with it, they would. We've seen that with Doom Eternal.
I mean, when it comes to like games or entertainment in general, one thing I was taught while I was in school was that like as much as you would as much as you would hate to like downgrade your product, you have to consider the lowest common denominator. And if you want to get as much, squeeze as many pennies as you can out of your product, you're gonna have to make a version that even the poor, like the ones you don't really consider as your main audience, but still should give the option. even though that pisses off your main group, for the most part, they're still gonna buy it. Now, keep in mind, this is my, college professors telling me this. I'm not saying this.
Hmm?
But yeah, that was one of the big selling points for the Google Stadia is that even poor people could play this stuff because they don't need a strong like PC or anything like that.
Hmm.
Whereas like, and people are still gonna try for the whole like for live stream gaming
It's
because
true.
yeah, it's because of the whole idea that you could just stream your game from online, which is another issue in and of itself because then
Yeah.
you don't have a physical copy of the game. Even if you
Yeah.
buy it, it's like you're really just buying permission to play it effectively,
Hmm.
Essentially.
which can lead to a whole slew of other problems. Where it's like, what if the host has an issue with the developers, and then they decide to do the China thing and like take the game out? It's like, well, you don't have a physical copy, so you can't play it anymore.
Yeah, it's all about it's about like pretty much like what do you value more, preservation or convenience?
I I I I value both, but preservation is what I value more at the end of the day. As long as you have access to it, I feel like it's the most important thing.
Hmm.
Because look, I feel like look, the fact that we can still have lost media in this fucking day and age shocks just fucking shocks me. You wanna know what lost media? Fucking Timo Supremo. It's an obscure Disney cartoon,
I
and there's
remember that.
only like 6 episodes available. Maybe more. I haven't checked to see if somebody was like, "Fuck, I'm gonna make sure Timo Supremo is rescued." But point being, you know, like,
Oh, there are Doctor Who episodes that are no longer available.
Hmm. There's even some like cartoons or even books that are no longer available.
Oh yeah, and
Like those old like what's it like those like little pulp fiction or like pulp books? Like they're not around anymore. It's really hard to find a really like a one that's in really good quality. Otherwise they just crumble in your hands. So the
true,
fact that we are able to preserve stuff at all is an amazement, yet most people are just like, I just want to be able to have convenience. It's like, okay, but just know that you don't own anything. Like you won't, and you can't say anything otherwise if
yeah,
they take
Monkey
it
Paw
down.
wish granted.
Yeah, it's like, oh, but it's like, oh, but I bought. It's like, no, you bought permission to view it, to play it, to read it. You don't own it. And I don't think people realize that until like, all that stuff gets taken away.
well, yeah, basically. Look, it's what happens on occasion, you know.
In fact, there's probably gonna be a whole slew of Flash games that are no longer gonna be available due
There
to.
is there is a group that's trying to preserve Flash games. They're working on a software where they will download Flash games themselves and basically make like a mega collection, so to speak, of like 2000s Flash games. And if they're gonna chat with like other creators, they're like, hey, if you have a Flash game that you want to preserve, give us a call. We'll work out a deal so that you get a cut, and your game is forever remembered. So games like Alien Hominid,
Oh
um,
yeah,
Castle, or like anything on Newgrounds, um, miniclip.com games. Like I'm pretty sure you guys probably know a lot more than me, but like all that stuff there is a
I mean,
software being
just
worked on.
Flash videos, Flash games. I mean, stuff you would find on like uh, Congregate or like Albino Black Sheep. All those old stuff.
Star Runner.
I mean, and there's even like a Flash web series I used to watch called Broken Saints. I don't even know if that's gonna be still around. But
There's actually a DVD of Broken Saints available if you actually. I don't know if it's still easy to find, but that was put on DVD.
all right, I'll look into that because I loved that back in the day, but I especially love the way they do their loading screens where it's like some kind of special quote from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I
But
watched Newgrounds too.
but yeah, that's the thing. Newgrounds. I mean, when I grew up back in the day, it was kind of like the Wild West for games and animation. You could make anything from anything. I mean, you didn't even.
Mm-hmm.
Most people didn't even worry about like copyright stuff. It's like if you wanted to make your very own Mega Man game, you could. They're like sprite games and everything. And people,
Unfortunately, it's a shadow of its former self.
yeah, that's the sad part. A lot of that stuff's probably like gonna be taken down if not by like the obsolescence of Flash, then by copyright issues, because a lot of those are breaking copyright.
Well, one thing that Newgrounds has done, if you don't know this, just because I feel like it's good to point this out, uh, with Newgrounds, is that they have actually made a special Newgrounds player to
All right, what is
preserve
it?
their Flash content.
Oh,
So
that's good.
yeah, no, in all seriousness, that's what they've been doing. So for what it's worth, Newgrounds has actually responded to the issue. So, you know, all in all, I'm gonna say good on them. I can't really say. I'll say like, you know, good for them. I honestly think that was probably one of the best things they could have done in this era now.
Mhm.
You know, but like I said, I think it's good to actually point that out right now that there are people who are basically
And
there
all
are
those umpteen gazillion Sonic Flash animations and games.
yeah. So
Oh
again,
yeah,
we
just imagine what would happen to all the creepypasta stuff that was out there.
oh
With the
yeah.
Sonic.exe.
Yeah, if none of this preservation stuff had happened, they would be gone, and they'd just be like remnants of like some of people's memory. Like, I remember this and this and that. And they're like, oh, cool. Well, what is it? I was like, oh, well, we can't show you anymore. It doesn't exist, or like the format's outdated, so we can't mess with it. Sorry.
Yeah, that. Not to mention we are also dealing with like some kind of I'm trying to remember who he was, but who he is. It apparently I think it's some Republican politician that shoved through a new law in some kind of bill where it's making DMCA's a felony.
Oh, I actually know what you're talking about. So let me explain. So a lawmaker recently has been trying to make a DMC finable by jail time for the music industry. And can I just say this? Fuck the music industry. I thought some things were bad, but the music industry can go fuck itself up its own bum for what it's been doing to artists and people just because they want to own the small pie they have left because the industry completely fucking fell out after Napster.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's also that would also kill a whole bunch of Flash games. Whereas like where because a lot of them have used copyrighted music. It's also gonna kill a lot of YouTubers out there. I mean, notice that I don't use much in the way of music in my videos anymore.
Yes, because you're trying to avoid getting copyright strikes.
Yeah, does
If I cared, I care
yeah
if I
this
cared enough.
this stuff's been getting worse over time, and it's getting to a point where it's like, in fact, there was even a Razor Fist stream this Friday that got copyright claimed, and I can't
Mhm.
see it anymore,
Yeah.
But
which
what
is
were
a
you
shame
saying,
because
man?
I slept through it and I just wanted to, and still wanted to hear what he responded to my super chat.
Aw.
But what were you saying,
Dave.
Dave?
Well, my opinion boils down to this: is that I really don't think that I really don't like. Here's the thing: I hate the DMCA takedown for one major reason is frankly the companies who make the DMC takedowns are basically they're some of the worst. And right now, the fact that like the music industry has the lobbyists it's due, even though the music industry has not been relevant in decades.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, fuck them. If you're gonna be a musician, go independent. At this point, you're gonna get less fucked over. And I hate saying that, but right now that's kind of like the era we live in. Own look. If you can own your work and you're not hired out on contract, own your work. You deserve whatever you make. And
Yeah.
right now, I actually do. I genuinely believe that. So, but yeah, like this is just the era we live in, guys. We are poor sons of bitches. But well, with that cynical things talked about tonight, because this was a cynical topic. We probably have to end it here. We are reaching an hour here, guys.
Kinda. I mean,
Well, we started at 8:40.
yeah, we did
And
start around 8:30 or something or like that. It's like this was a fairly early stream because it's like we were all ready to begin with.
Plus, the holidays are coming up, and we need to prepare for that.
yeah.
Also, recently, Mastercard and Visa have been throwing their weight around in
Oh
particular
yes.
sites.
Well,
I mean-
maybe we'll save that for next time after I do a little more research on what's going on. Because the reason I didn't want to talk about it this week was because I'm not sure if I could comment on everything and make it a really good commentary. But we will try next
I
time.
mean,
Yeah.
let's put it this way: I have my suspicions, but I'll save that for another time.
Mhm.
Well, anyway, guys, that was fun. We'll see you all next week when we do this once again.
All right.
Uh,
Thank you all for listening. This is Scarfade. This has been Dave, and this has been AJ Shim.
Have a good one.
ta-ta.
All right.